I'm Victor Fernandez of Fernandez Fit, and I'm here to show you why fitness is our business. Hello and welcome once again to the Fitness is Our Business podcast, the show that helps busy professionals not simply survive, but thrive in their demanding personal and professional lives by taking control of their health and well-being. I'm your host, Victor Fernandez. Thanks for joining me as you do each and every week. I truly appreciate it. Now, this is your first time listening to the show. Welcome. Just want you to sit back, relax, and enjoy the show. But if you've been following for a while, your second, third, fourth, umpteenth time, I need you to do me a solid, and that's to subscribe to the show and share it far and wide, because many more people need to learn that fitness is our business. Now, all that being said, I'm excited to bring my next guest on the show, because today we get to talk all things health and well-being, obviously my favorite subject. My next guest is a certified health coach, nutrition coach, wellness coach, Biofield tuner, Reiki master. I can go on and on. But I'm going to let her talk about all that. Through an approach that blends science and energy, she has dedicated her life to observing and understanding the many complexities of human behavior and its impact on health and wellness. With the latest and greatest information at her disposal, her heart-centered approach takes into account the individual and looks deeper to identify root causes and collaborate to find possible solutions and actions to improve health and well-being. Her goal is to hold space, share knowledge, and support her clients on their journey to being the best version of themselves. Simply put, to be SheWise. I love that saying. I love it. So please welcome to the show, Kristin Aurelia. Kristin, thanks for joining me today.
Thank you, Victor, for having me on the show and giving the opportunity to just talk all things health and wellness. I'm excited to be here.
I've been looking forward to this show. Kristin and I sort of met indirectly, I guess, a few months back when she was making the move from up in the Northeast down here to southeastern North Carolina, and just listening to her, just sensing the passion, seeing the knowledge, really experiencing the knowledge. Definitely wanted to get her on the show, and now we're finally able to do it. So I'm excited, to record this episode.
Yeah, me too. The shift and the change has been exciting, just getting used to the new area, understanding the dynamics of just the environment and what people are looking for, what the need is in the community. It's been a journey so far.
Well, that's good. It'll only continue. It'll only continue and throw a lot of twists and turns in your way.
Agreed. So I kind of started off on this journey, in a very interesting way. So I myself had gone through a lot of health challenges and was having trouble with, the Western medicine concept. I had lost the use of one side of my body. My left side was numb. I had gone through a myriad of autoimmune condition diagnoses, which I did not subscribe to. I said, nope, once you put a label on it, you kind of box people in. And each time they came up with a new thought, nothing really panned out. The results were inconclusive. So I had a lot of mystery symptoms and conditions is what I would say. And that led me into the holistic space. And during that journey, I was able to learn about homeopathic approaches, energy work, using the combination of energy and science to help heal the body. Really looking at what I like to refer to as the book, The Body Keeps the Score, understanding how energy and traumas can trap in our bodies and manifest as physical symptoms. So that set me on this huge journey, which brought me to SheWise. Started as a journal for my naturopath, which then turned into a book, which is my book in the back here, Recreation, Surviving the Human Experience, looking at how we attract certain people and experiences into our space, either knowingly or unknowingly, using that subconscious and conscious thought that happens, and seeing how that can bring certain experiences into our human experience. So through that, I started SheWise Publications, which is built off of everything mind, body, and spirit related. Often we think of the physical and we're looking at, okay, our bodies and how do we fix the body, or how do we, work out and move and all the things that you are here to help us do, which we are thankful for.
Appreciate that. Thank you.
Yes. And then I recognized this pattern that a lot of these symptoms and conditions were showing up physically, but they're really coming from a spiritual side. There's that unseen piece of us that we're not connecting to or recognizing or addressing. And so I ended up learning Reiki and then Biofield tuning. And I mean, it just keeps going. It's endless at this point. Yeah. So
Well,
it's different.
it's definitely limitless. I mean, there's so many things. I like to tell people that there's people in this industry, regardless of what sector of it, that have probably forgotten more than I have learned to this point. I mean, I'm 7 years in, so I'm in my, and 15 years into my own personal journey. So it almost feels like I'm in my relative infancy,
Right.
as to learning everything about it. And I know going through your bio and everything you've done, everything you've accomplished, everything you've attained over these years, the one phrase that really stood out to me, and I want to share that with you, have you kind of expand on it, is the many complexities of human behavior and its impact in health and wellness. Because I'm always talking about aligning these, the
Yes.
mind and the heart, the soul, because without this, I could design the best program ever made and it wouldn't amount to anything. I want to expand on that, just the impact health and wellness has on everything that goes on in our lives.
It absolutely does. And so when I was really looking at the different clients I was working with and just people that I've come across throughout my life, I started realizing, just like you said, Victor, you can have this whiz bang process laid out for people. And, for example, weight loss, it's a science, right? It's literally a science. It's not that complicated. Now, layer in the fact that you might have obsessive compulsive modalities going on in your brain. You've got overeating because you've got emotions that are playing in, or you've got these different behaviors that have formed because you grew up in a situation where you had to look a certain way or be a certain way. So there's these layers that go on top of basic, what we might refer to as logic, common sense, all the things, because it's not so common. I've learned that also along the way.
That is true.
Common sense to one might not be common sense to another, right? But there's all these limiting beliefs that have formed. And if we want to take it back to, Freud, we can go back to childhood like we study in psychology. And you recognize that there's different patterns and behaviors that are learned over time. And the biggest challenge is teaching people how to unlearn learned behaviors, form new ones. Then we can get into the book, The Atomic Habits, right? And how you need to really just strip away certain things you've done. But if it's become your norm and that is how you've lived and that's how your human experience has been, you're really fighting your own programming. It's like this internal program that we're running on autopilot and we don't even realize it. And yet right over to the side, there's a whole new way of doing things. And we're getting in our own ways. We're self-sabotaging. We're not even recognizing it. That's the crazy part.
Well, obviously, there's always been the argument of traditional versus non-traditional, however that looks to people.
Yes.
Why as a society are we so resistant, I guess, for lack of a better term, resistant to newer methods or non-traditional methods? Because let's face, and personally for me, I grew up in a generation, I'm 53 years old. I grew up in a generation where doctors were always right, no matter what they said. And we had to listen to them and do everything like they said, do exactly what they laid out for us. And there's, I guess, a level of truth to that, but it's not 100% true. We have to be our most staunch advocates. I might have had surgery on an Achilles tendon injury that didn't require surgery because, I didn't, if I had chosen to listen to what the doctor had said, I might have gone down that road, into a possible detriment for me.
Sure.
So why are people so resistant to trying some new things as opposed to being open-minded and seeing if it would work?
So I like to think of it as the matrix. We're in this matrix and we're in this structure. We've been taught this hierarchy, whether it's societal or, political or whatever situation we've been in, wherever we are in the world. And we fit into these molds, and to be the outlier and to step outside, it's almost like you're being rebellious, non-compliance, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
Like, how dare you do that? It's always been done this way. You're the one that's ruffling feathers or being the black sheep. And so people like to feel accepted. People want to feel connected. And being the one that stands up and goes the opposite direction or says, I'm not going to just follow the masses, you look rebellious. And so for fear of retaliation or fear of being treated different or being outcast, I think people just kind of fall in line. And it's like that even in school, right? So when you look at, and I love my education. Okay. I'm all about education.
That's nothing wrong with that.
But look at this, for example, the school systems. They teach to the middle. They don't teach to the struggling child. They don't teach to the child that's like way above their level unless they move them into a different class. You're usually teaching to the middle. So you want the conformist. You want the one that follows the rules and doesn't ruffle feathers and isn't the difficult one, because let's face it, those kids that are bossy and difficult growing up, they're usually the leaders. And if we look at the majority of the really successful entrepreneurs, they were your C students. They weren't your A students. I mean, you start dissecting some of these really whiz bang genius entrepreneurs. They were the ones that struggled through school. They were like, forget this. I'm going to go over here and do my own thing. So it removes the creativity. It removes the ability for people to use their critical thinking and go outside the box when you're literally just looking at, were you conforming? Did you show up and just, you were easy to deal with and pleasant and didn't ruffle feathers and didn't argue or go against the grain? So I think people do that because, just as you said, authority figures, we look at certain people to have the knowledge and have the wisdom. And it's interesting that you said that about doctors, because I can remember I did foot surgery years ago. I had a bunion on my right foot. I said, oh my gosh, I got to get it done, right? The doctor said I should get it done. Got it done. Supposed to be one surgery. One surgery turned into two. So now you have to go back in because the doctor put a screw that was too long in my foot. Now, mind you, I did say I didn't want any metal in my body, and I was really upset that they were leaving a screw in there. Well, he puts a screw that was too long. So now as I'm healing and I'm stepping down, I'm like, oh, wow, there's like something wrong with the pad of my foot. And it's because I've got a screw that's like about to come out. So they have to go back in and do that. So now they have to open the body a second time, which I always say, if you can avoid opening the body, I think people should. Give our disclaimer, I'm not a doctor. You should always consult with your physician. However,
absolutely,
it does expose you to different things. And so shortly following, halfway up my leg, I now have this mass, this little, I don't know what you call it. They said it was fine. It's not going to grow, but it's sitting there. And that resulted after the surgery. And I thought to myself, if I had never even done this surgery, I wouldn't have even been here. And guess what? Bunions grow back. So now I just wasted my time, because here we are 14 years later, and I'm looking at the foot going, I might as well have just left it. Now I have a scar. I've had 2 surgeries and I've got this bump, and I could have gone without all of that. So one of my things on SheWise Wellness that I always say is, you are the CEO of your health. Nobody else is. When I'm talking to people in my Caring for Your Human workshops, I always say your body is your best friend. I don't care who says anything to you. You are with yourself 24/7. If it doesn't feel right for you, even if the data suggests that X amount of people, this is what can happen and whatever, you know yourself better than anybody else does. And you also know the power of your mind and your faith and all of the things that play into outcomes. So I'm always very, very aware of the concepts, as you shared, that we look at people as authorities, but they don't know your body. They're not in it 24/7.
Oh, and it's funny because I subscribe to the mantra of the doctor was always right when I was growing up, because that's the way I was taught. And, my parents' hearts were in the right place. They wanted to truly believe the doctors know best. And in theory, based solely on education, they should, but that's not always the case. And what you just pointed out was right on the spot, that yes, we don't have the medical degree. We don't have the white lab coat and the stethoscope and all that knowledge and experience like doctors do. And I'm not trying to, bash on doctors here, because there's plenty of great ones out there.
Mm-hmm.
But like you said, no one knows what's going on inside of you better than you.
Mm-hmm.
So if a doctor says A and you feel more like it's B, why are we just pushing aside B because we don't have the medical degree?
Mm-hmm.
Is what it
Agreed.
comes down to. And I don't claim, like I said, I'm not a doctor. Absolutely, speak with your doctor, get as much information and knowledge from all sides that you can get so you can make an informed decision. But ultimately, you have to trust your gut.
Yes.
I know for me, I trusted my gut. I knew I had gotten an Achilles tear, but I didn't think where it was and how bad it was and so forth was quite right, just based on what I was feeling. And if I hadn't stuck to my guns and gotten a second opinion, who knows where I'd be right now? Like you said, if you had stuck to your guns and maybe not had that bunion surgery,
Yes.
who knows where you'd be right now? How
Yes.
much better off you might be right now?
Mm-hmm.
And it's a scary thought when you think about it, because there's so much in the information age, in the internet age, and social media age. There's so much information out there. So and which kind of segues into my next question is, we see all this information out there. We're inundated with it on a daily basis. So how do we decipher what's real and what isn't, to make sure that we're not just making the best decision and the best decision for us, but using methods that are really tried and true?
Yeah. So, and that's a tough one, because depending on where you are and what the topic is, it could vary. But I'm big on research. So I do like to look at the research. I like to look at credible sources. Are they peer-reviewed journals? Are they, for me, I go a lot in the holistic space. So I look at individuals who are notable in that area and their field. So it's a combination of reading for me. It's a combination of talking to experts. And then I come to my own conclusions, because I have learned that every time I have given my power away, because that's what we do when we say, oh, let me let somebody else make that decision, or let me, let their thoughts weigh heavier than mine. You're giving your power away, and then you might make a decision that's not best for you. So trying not to make any rash decisions. Either pray or meditate on it before you pull the trigger and say, okay, this is the direction I'm going, because there are consequences to every decision. And some of those consequences are wonderful. Some, they're mediocre, and others could be really catastrophic. And sometimes you don't know until you try something. But really being able to figure out and discern for yourself what's going to help you make a decision that you feel comfortable with, because you're stuck with the results. Just like we talked about, if you had done, your surgeries and I did mine, that was over 13 years ago. That doctor's not thinking about me. They're not in my body, but I am now dealing with the consequences of a decision I made where I could have maybe done something different. Even to go further too into things like when you end up sick, are you going to take certain medications? What are the long-term effects of those? What are the implications? You have to really look at those, and unfortunately the list of dangers is usually longer than what you came to fix, right?
Yeah.
And so what are the alternatives? Because I can tell you, I've gone through quite some interesting times between having Lyme disease as a kid and going through mono and experiencing Epstein-Barr, and just the difference that it's made having taken so many medications through your life. You're now learning about heavy metals and how are heavy metals affecting the body. And so if there are alternative options that maybe have less effects on you for the long term, why not explore them? Why not weigh your benefits, your pros and your cons? So those are just some thoughts, but it is a personal decision that people just have to be comfortable with the results, because they're going to pay for the consequences.
100%. So obviously the passion is there. If you're listening or watching to the show, Apple, Spotify, YouTube, shameless plug there. You're sensing the passion, you're seeing the passion, you're hearing the passion. So take us through just the process of what is now SheWise?
Sure.
Where it began and how it's evolved over the years.
Yes. So it started off with the book writing, and that was just a journey showing people how we're bringing people into our space. What are those limiting beliefs and what do they look like? And how do we go on the journey of healing? So the book is called Recreation for a reason. I'm not talking about reincarnation. People get confused when I do that. I say, no, we
I
are
want to come back as a dog.
Yes, there you go. I'm thinking of birds. So I could just fly away.
I love dogs, so it just makes sense for me.
I mean, it is a great job. You get to lay around and rest and play when you want to. People feed you if you have a good owner.
I'm good with that.
Yes,
I'm a simple man.
I hear you. So it's called recreation because people will continue to recreate the same cycles and patterns until somebody stops and does the work. So there are all these programs running that we're not even consciously aware of half the time. And because your mother did it that way, or your father did it that way, or the family did it that way, you cannot break that mold because that's just not what we do. This is what we do. And so at some point, somebody has to stop and do the work to break the generational cycles, whether they're, great or not so great, to do something different. And so then I moved into the Caring for Your Human series where I said, okay, some people don't want the heavy trauma and stress and all that, but let's talk about caring for mind, body, and spirit. And I took it a step further and said, okay, there needs to be a workshop. There needs to be a workbook, exercises, like how do people apply this information? And then I jumped into Your Voice is Not for Sale. And in that one, I really thought I was going to be writing about relationship and how that looks. And next thing you know, I'm getting these downloads and I'm like, wait, I'm writing about what? So now I'm writing about social injustices, leadership. I'm talking about what it's like to be an employee and to just follow and go with the flow, right? Just like we talked about. But the publication piece was cool, but it wasn't quite where I felt like I was supposed to go because I thought I've been on this wild health journey. I've had to go from not being able to walk to being able to walk and write and read and do all the things again. Then I ended up with some weird, crazy thing about a year and a half ago and was in a wheelchair for 5 weeks, not able to walk. I had to learn how to do that from a holistic perspective. And that was the time that I sat down and I studied for the CNC, for the nutrition coach, the health coach, the wellness coach, because I said, I've got to take this a step beyond. I need to take what I've learned and experienced myself and I need to help others. And that's when SheWise Wellness came into play. And I said, okay, I want to show people what Reiki is. How can you help with your stress levels? How can you find ways to move that trapped energy in the body? And then I found that some people aren't as open to Reiki because they feel like it's woo-woo, which is fine. That's fine. And if that's not their cup of tea, that's great. I always tell people I work with God and Jesus. So I grew up Catholic. I come from a space of faith-based work. So when I'm doing it, my faith is in front and center. And then I discovered Biofield tuning because I was looking for something that could help restore, reset, get somebody relaxed in a very harmonious, efficient, faster fashion. And I found that using the frequency of those tuning forks allowed me to do that with individuals. So I then introduced the Biofield tuning. And then because, that wasn't enough,
we need more. We need more.
I'm like, wait a minute. How come we have a food plate, but we don't have a wellness model? Like, I'm super confused about this. That really had me stressed out. And I thought to myself, okay, I want a wellness model that's all encompassing, that isn't just this or that. It needed to be a whole 360 approach. And that's when I created the She 360 wellness model, where we're looking at personal growth, we're looking at mindset, we're looking at emotions, we're looking at health and nutrition, rest and recovery, movement, connection, community. And all of those 8 areas are what I believe need to be balanced so that we can optimize our health and wellness. Because I could have the best workout routine in the world, but I could be filling my mind with news that's horrible, it's negative, it's all of this chatter, this feedback, or watching TV shows that are, I love reality shows, they're entertaining. However, they're not exactly feeding our mind the best content, right? Or maybe I have, issues regulating emotions and I've got the best rest and recovery. I mean, I know how to do my self-care routine, I've got this down, but I'm not able to regulate. And so it's going to impact your entire wheel, going back to the many complexities of human behavior. So I wanted something that just kind of rounded that out, so that as I'm coaching clients, I'm looking at those different areas to say, okay, how are we doing in each of these? And let's set some goals, because if, you're needing some personal growth to move past being that stuck space that you're in, let's look at the reading materials we can do. What exercises can you incorporate? What workshops can you do, or education? So it's kind of morphed. So there's coaching, there's, the wellness services like the Biofield tuning and the Reiki. There's literature for those that are interested in books. We do workshops. So a little bit of everything. It's kind of morphed.
Well, there you go. Nothing wrong with that. That's how
Yeah.
that's how we grow. If the product we're providing and the service we're providing grows right along with us. So
Yes.
absolutely.
Yeah.
I always share with people, and I'm sure you can relate to this as well, that especially with my clients or anyone that I'm talking to, I said we have one thing in common above all else. We're human beings, which means we're flawed, which means we make mistakes, which means we're real. I mean, it's here we are in our imperfect form. So if you've made this mistake with your health and well-being, there's a better than average chance that I've done it as well. So I guess the She 360 wellness model. I can get that out.
Yes.
Get all tongue tied. Get all tongue tied here. It all comes from within you, because of your own personal, the struggles, the challenges, the success, the growth, all of it. And obviously, I know you made a major move to go from up north down here to North Carolina. And for you, how do you put it into effect, this wellness model, if you will, into effect in your own personal life? And how does that translate into your ability to really help people?
Yeah. So I have in one of my rooms here, it's plastered with all these different visions and goals and everything. And so I've got one for each business, because I've got SheWise Wellness, I've got SheWise Publications, I have my consulting company, which is more on the business side. I've got my personal goals. So I have all of this stuff laid out. And so everything has to do with personal growth. So I'm very big on personal growth and development. I feel like if we're not constantly learning, we're stagnant. And how do you move forward? And how do you evolve? Not just my physical, but how do I evolve my soul, right? We all came onto this earth to learn something. We're here on a journey, and it's a journey for a reason. So if I stay status quo my entire journey, then I didn't do what I came here to do, because we each have a purpose. Right. So helping people really uncover that purpose. And I've sat a lot of hours looking into my purpose, because I'm like, okay, my purpose is to illuminate, guide, and empower souls on their journey. That is SheWise's purpose. And I said, okay, God, that's what you want me to do. All right. I mean, I had to sit and really reflect on that. Mindset. I do a lot of work on mindset. So I am about to go to, and we talked about this before we jumped on, I'm about to go to a Joe Dispenza retreat, and it's for 7 days. And I knew I was finding myself in a space where my mindset, I'm battling myself. I'm not even battling anyone outside. I don't need to leave my house. I can fight my own self. And I said, okay, in order to get to the next level in space, I have to really rework this mindset, because I've made a complete shift in my entire everything. And so in order to break that program and that mold and reconstruct something different, I need to really do that work. So I'm literally taking myself out of my own comfort zone and putting myself in a space of intense, heavy 7 days of straight meditation, because I knew it's the next place I needed to go. When it comes to emotions, I journal. I literally had to start looking at patterns, like, why does this come up and when is this coming up? And you notice the patterns after a while. So working that piece, rest and recovery, not my strong point. Okay.
I'm sure there's a lot of us that are right there with you. And
I'm
we're
the
all
girl that
guilty
could,
of it.
the 4 hours of sleep. Yeah, that's not healthy. That's not what we recommend to clients at all. So I have to put these things into play, because how can I talk to somebody about developing a sleep pattern if I myself am scrolling, right before bed? And I'm telling people about an hour before bed, you should turn the lights down. You should put your electronics away. And then I'm over here guilty of scrolling. So I'm having to really do these things, and it doesn't just like fix itself. You don't do it once and it's good. It's a lifelong process. And so reminding people of that, the grace that you have to have with yourself, the learning the lessons of forgiveness for not just others, but for yourself when you know, have a day where you're like, I know I should have done this, but I did this instead. So being able to balance the human piece of trying to evolve your soul can be frustrating. So I am actively doing all of these things, and I keep my model up so it's everywhere. It's like plastered all over the walls. So I can each day look to say, okay, what did I do in this bucket? And maybe I need to focus more on connection. So I've been doing a lot of connection because I'm in a new space. I don't know anybody. And so I'm going out to these events because I know how important community and connection are to our thriving experience, because you can't do it alone. There's nothing you can do alone. We're human beings for a reason.
100%.
Yeah.
So obviously you mentioned this is the long game, whether you, with what you're doing, with what I'm doing, really what any of us are doing, it's all the long game. It's between the day we're born and the day we leave this earth. So talk about, where do you foresee yourself, SheWise, the She 360 wellness model, all of it as we move forward here in the next year, 5, 10 years and beyond?
Yeah. So as we're moving forward, my goal is to reach as many people as I can. If I am able to show people in any way through modeling the behavior or having interactions as a client, or even just being at a speaking engagement, if I'm able to give people one thing out of everything I say to take away that improves their life, that optimizes their human experience, then I feel like I've done my job, because that's really my goal. I mean, this is a space where sometimes people don't want to do the work. And so you can't force people to come on the journey. But if you've given them one tool or one technique that improves their life, that's really what I want to do. I've, launched a lot of virtual courses now. I'm trying to make sure that I'm accessible. My clients can work with me virtually. I could Biofield tune virtually. I can do Reiki virtually, course coaching. I want there to be no limits as to how I can connect with people, because I feel like my soul's mission and purpose is meant to do that. And so I just have to. So each day I'm like, okay, God, what do you want me to do today?
What's on the agenda?
What's on the agenda? And this is probably the most non-traditional business plan. I coach businesses on how to take their thoughts and ideas and make them happen. This is different. This has been a divinely led journey. Even on my podcast, I have a podcast on Dream Vision 7 Radio, and I had you on, Victor, and it was awesome. And we're bringing you back on that show. I bring people that talk about all things human experience related. There's no theme. There's no specific mindset or mold that a guest has to fit. If you have something to offer mankind, humankind, I bring people on. I want to expose people to all of the great individuals, the light workers, as I call them, that are on this earth doing the work. Because again, we're one collective consciousness. We're all just fragmented, and we all think we're different, but we're not. We're all coming from the same space.
And that's a lesson, especially in today's political generation, the political society, that we absolutely need to learn. I think over the years have grossly forgotten.
Yes.
Sad,
one thing I
true.
like to say is that we are all the same. We are all in different packages. That's it.
Perfect.
We are
like
all
that.
in different packages. And this world and this matrix has designed us to separate from one another, when in fact we should be promoting and pushing unity, because we're all the same. We came from the same space. We just broke off into little pieces and we all look a little different. That's it. But we're all the same. And if people could just figure that out, instead of playing into the mindset and the mold of creating division and pulling people apart, because again, there's safety in numbers, right? And there's also a lot of love when you have people in the right space. So it's easier to operate in a state of chaos and confusion, because it will create division, which is the exact opposite of what we should be doing while we're here on Earth.
100%.
Yeah. We just got deep. Sorry.
No, that's 100%.
Came from a whole different space.
I mean,
Sorry.
you're 100% true. You watch what's going on in today's society, and I'm not. I mean, if anybody that knows me, I'm not a very political person.
Yep, me
I
neither.
don't like to talk politics
Yep,
because those conversations never end well.
correct.
Too many people just can't have a conversation for the sake of having a conversation
Yes.
and possibly learning from one another. God forbid that might happen.
Really?
Because that would be an absolute shame if we actually learn from each other.
That would be a whole human experience in itself.
100%, and
Yeah.
to realize in its simplest form that when we're looking at each other, the person across from you is not the enemy.
Agreed.
And I think we need to stop and learn that just because you may think differently on a subject than I do, and we can have that conversation and have those differing opinions and learn from one another, that doesn't mean you're right, I'm wrong, I'm right, you're wrong. It just means we're learning from each other.
Yes. And honestly, Victor, that plays into your wellness. People don't even think about it, but it does, because when you harbor that much frustration or anger or resentment or I must be right, you're battling with ego. And ego has no place in evolving your soul. Until you experience the death of the ego, you can't possibly truly experience love, because you're moving and interacting with others from a space that's not genuine and authentic. So that's going to manifest itself in issues with the liver, because anger sits in the liver. And then you're going to have physical tension in your body, and you're just going to have a nasty attitude, and you're not going to connect with the community, because nobody wants to connect with somebody who's not pleasant.
Well, I've witnessed people self-sabotaging in the name of being right.
Yes.
In my personal feeling, and I share this with people, and some people get it and some people don't, sadly, is that, I don't need to be right. I'd rather win. And very rarely can both happen in the same breath. If you can be right or you can win. Which would you prefer? And I'd rather see everybody win, personally.
Me too.
And I used to be that person who needed to be right. Who it just the be all and end all was being right. Yeah, leading from the ego portion of my mindset.
Me too.
And I
was
realized
guilty.
I think we've all been guilty of it. No doubt about it. And I realized, like you said, it takes a lot more energy to live that from that side of your life, from the ego side of your life, than it does to try to actually work together and win together.
Agreed. And your health suffers all the way around. The blood pressure's up, the headaches are happening, the migraines show up, the sluggishness shows up, because you've exerted all this energy fighting for what?
Yeah.
The other person's already moved on, and you're still angry. You're still sitting here going, I can't believe that jerk said. And it's like, he's already moved on, or she's already moved on.
It's like, you're right. What did you win?
Yep. Agreed.
So, well, obviously we know, given what we've talked about, there's a lot of people that need to come talk to you. So share with our audience where they can find you, where they can get your books, all on social media, the interwebs, as a good friend of mine likes to call it, the interwebs, where they can find you, so they can reach out to you and learn more.
Oh, thank you, Victor. Yes. So they can go to SheWiseWellness.com or SheWisePublications.com. The podcast is on both websites. You can click from there. So are the workshops. All of my books are available on Amazon. You can just type in Kristin Aurelia and the list will come up for you, or you can type in the titles. Phone number is 240-927-3323. You can schedule over the phone, or you can schedule through the website, and then emails shewisewellness@gmail.com or shewisepublications@gmail.com.
Awesome. Told you, folks, we were going to tag team you on health and wellness today.
Yes.
I wasn't lying. We came through. We came in with both barrels.
We did.
Which was great. And trust me, there's more that we could discuss. We could probably fill up 4 or 5 or more episodes of the show with this. So we're definitely going to have you back on at some point down the road. I'm going to be back on Kristin's show here in the not too distant future, talking some more health and wellness. But Kristin, for now, I appreciate you coming on. I know my audience appreciates you. Gave them a lot of great information to work with. Appreciate you coming on.
Thank you, Victor. I appreciate the opportunity and the connection, and I'm looking forward to our future episodes. We have a lot to cover. And I tell people if they need a trainer, go see Victor. He's the guy. He's the man.
Well, it goes both ways. You
Yes.
need everything else. Kristin's the one you got to talk to. Certainly. I don't know anything about that stuff, so she's going to have to teach me for me to be able to teach anybody else.
That's what we're here for.
That's it. We're here to learn and to grow all together. I love it. I love it. Well, thanks once again to Kristin for being on the show. Thanks to all of you out there listening and watching the show each and every week. I do truly appreciate that. It's no show without all of you out there. So make sure to like, leave a great review, subscribe, and of course, share the show far and wide, because more people are out there who need to learn that fitness is our business. Thanks so much for listening. I hope what we've shared on this show truly resonates with you. If you want to learn more about the health and fitness services I provide, head to my website, fernandezfit.com. If you're ready to connect with me about health and fitness coaching, send an email to info@fernandezfit.com or a text to 814-504-7774. And of course, you can find me all across social media, Victor Fernandez 123 on Facebook, Fernandez Fit on Facebook, Instagram, and LinkedIn, as well as the Healthy Lives, Healthy Business channel on YouTube. Thanks again for tuning in, and until next time, always remember, fitness is our business.